Hey there, I'm Lee Rowley, and this is Lee After Dark. Why? Because there's more to being a business leader than just business. Each episode, one brave entrepreneur ejects the elevator pitch and just gets real. Today, I'd like to welcome Alie Jules. Alie, how are you today?
Wonderful. How are you?
I am fantastic. Thank you so much for asking, and it's a pleasure having you here today. Thanks for spending some time with us.
It is always a pleasure to hang with you.
Wonderful. Well, the rules are simple here. For the next 20 minutes, we can talk about anything you want, but your business. Afterward, you'll have 5 minutes to pitch up a storm. But if you mess up and you talk about your business during the interview, we'll take off a minute per infraction. We're kind of loosey-goosey with the rules, but it keeps things interesting.
Yes, it does.
Yep.
For sure.
You ready to play?
Challenge accepted.
Right on. Well, let's go ahead and start the timer. And what do we want to get into for the next 20 minutes?
Well, I thought maybe we'll use a theme of, where do we come from? Not just me, but just in general. So food for thought for others as well, or the stories that shape us, right? Because we all have stories that somehow end up where we are right now. You have your stories, I have mine. We all have adversities, things that we have to go through, and nobody really knows what happens. And not that this is going to be a sob story or anything, but I thought I'd share a couple of things that people probably don't know about at all. So, and that starts from, well, people in general know that I am from Finland. I was born there and I was raised there, and I grew up and moved to the United States when I was 21. But some of the things that have stayed with me as part of my culture, or maybe part of who I am, but one of the things that we in Finland believe, or it is ingrained in us, is that we have what is called SISU. SISU is more than grit or resilience. SISU is being able to push through any adversity or anything that is thrown your way. It's almost like a superhuman power, but it is our identity. And it's not to say that only Finnish people have it. You have it, everybody has it. It's just that others than Finns are not necessarily tapped into it. So you can call on it when you need it, in a way. So that's something that is it is part of my identity. And I never, ever doubt. It's also the confidence to know that no matter what is thrown your way, you get through it. I mean, it doesn't mean it's going to be roses and unicorns and, anything else beautiful, but it means that you're going to get through it. That's just how it is. That's a view, or in a way, worldview, or your own view of, what? Stuff happens, you just push through it. So, yeah. Thoughts?
Well, we're starting out strong here. All right.
Yes, right off the
I love
gates.
this. Yeah, no, this is exactly what this is for. So that's fantastic. Okay. So we've got and I'm sure you'll have to PM me the spelling there, because obviously I could, I've got English down fairly well, I think. People tell me, but I couldn't spell it.
Yes, it's SISU, but I will definitely send it to you as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. Okay. Carry on.
So anyway, so that is just something that is innately me, but it is something that I always encourage others to, explore as well, because we all have it. So a huge part of who I am and who I've continually becoming, because it's never ending. It's not something that stops at any point of life. The other thing is that we in Finland have 180,000 lakes and a lot of forests. Yes, we are supposedly the country of lakes. And I come from a very small town in northern Finland that I always say has more reindeers than people, or reindeer, since I don't think there's a plural S in there. So very few people. So one of the things that I still to this day long for or search for is solitude, or silence. So I used to, as a 10-year-old or 5-year-old, used to go out by myself. Yes, in those days, and in there, nobody cared. It was okay. I would not let my kids do that here. Just different times. But I would go and walk in the woods. I would build rafts or hop on rocks. I would lay down in the middle of cold winter, full darkness, and look at the Milky Way and the Aurora Borealis, or the Northern Lights, just flash and dance in the sky. And those are the moments that, as a creative person, I feel it's the vibration and the energy and this is a different level that I still go to nature to recharge in a way. And it's recharging. But something that I definitely realized looking back is that, I searched for that already then. So the separation from the noise and busyness, and especially nowadays, I yearn even more of that. And I definitely try weekly get somewhere where I can find that, which doesn't mean just going to the gym or something, but
sure.
So,
is that something that you find difficult to integrate into your life? How have you done that?
Typically, well, here in Colorado, since we have such beautiful mountains, it's super easy to go to the nature, and we have a lot of nature. So not hard at all here. And not that that's the only thing. It could also be, I love stand-up paddleboarding. So I could go to some mountain lake or somewhere, and it's just me and the board and the sounds of nature. So it doesn't necessarily have to be just, me in the middle of a top of a mountain somewhere, which I also do, and climb there for 8 hours or whatever it is. But
Wow.
it takes time. So, but I definitely noticed that if I don't take that time to do that, then, I start sleeping. So just some self-awareness, I guess, again, that I always promote is that know what you need to do to stay on track or feel good. At least.
Of course, it feel good. That's the important thing. A while back, I interviewed a lady who talked about kite surfing off the coast of Morocco, and how she described it as the closest she'd ever come to meditation. And that's something that comes up over and over again. Is like almost this meditative quality of losing yourself in whatever it is. It doesn't have to be sitting in the lotus position, in a cave in Nepal or whatever. That whatever you do and whatever you enjoy, whatever makes you feel in the moment and complete, is meditation, and is as you say, recharging and regenerating.
Absolutely. You
really
hit
cool
it
stuff.
Exactly. That is exactly what it is. And I don't meditate the usual way. That is my meditation. And it is exactly what you said. It's you are in or the kite surfing or every single step. And I might have lost you there for a second. Or you lost me.
Yeah, we froze up there for a minute.
Yes. So it is being in the moment. You have to watch your every single step or every single handhold or whatever you're doing. So there isn't any other things in your mind. Like if you go for a jog or just walk, your mind goes everywhere all the time, right?
Sure.
So that is definitely the time where you're just super focused on the right then and there, the next step. I always say you can't climb Mount Everest by just, climbing it like a walk in a park. It's every step counts.
That's right. Absolutely right. I have tried stand-up paddleboarding once though. I hit a boat.
You like it?
No, I hit a boat.
Well, that's
and then I fell off in the water. The guy on the boat thought it was funny, so I guess somebody got something out of it. It just wasn't me. But that's okay.
That's okay too. But I'm so happy that you tried. That's the best. I mean, again, you pushed something different, right?
Yep, that's right.
Something different.
That's right. I did. You know what? Speaking of something different, the info you sent me way back, you just put the word skydiving.
Yes, and I just said that.
Yeah.
So that's the other side, and actually, good segue here. Thank you for that with your stand-up paddleboarding.
Yes.
That the other thing that I've always felt that I'm an outlier or pusher of limits or dancing in the edges or however you want to call that. I like to test myself, experiment, and see how far I can take things, but not recklessly. That I wouldn't call myself reckless. I'm I evaluate risk, right? I mean, but I'm not too cautious. I will take a challenge on if it presents itself, and actually I'll say bring it. But
There you go.
skydiving was something that when I was 15, my mom told me, because I guess she thought that I was very, out there. I would do whatever. So she said, well, are you ever going to skydive? We were watching somebody skydive in my little hometown. And I said, yeah, sure, why not? I might do that. So when I was 19, I decided that I was going to try skydiving. So, and the very moment that I went to the first meeting where they talk about what you do. And this is with the old, well, I would say old, but in the old way of doing it was that you were hooked up with a line to the airplane. So it's called static line. So your parachute is hooked with a line cord to parachute, like when you're first learning further. So I wasn't there just to jump one time. And that was the mentality that I went with it from the get-go. And so this was all in Finland, and I'm skydiving at the Arctic Circle, literally. That is the line of where the airport was. And it was cold, very cold. Summer is beautiful because we have 24-hour daylight. So summer skydiving was amazing. But then I moved to Florida to continue and actually worked for a skydiving company. But I have about 800, if I remember correctly, you keep a logbook. I have about 835 jumps.
Wow.
From various airplanes, various formations. So one of the things, once you get further along, you want to jump with others and do different things in the free fall time before you actually have to open the parachute. So that's where I was at some point of time, where that was my interest. But it was also, I was learning how to, and I learned, and I was actually, it's called master rigger. So that's another skydiving term. I was basically certified to fix your parachutes. So I could sew them, I could repair the actual containers, all of that. And yeah, you have to be certified. You'll actually put your seal on it, because if something happens, you may be reliable, meaning it's your fault if something happens.
Right.
So very, you have to know what you're doing, and that's why you need that certification. So I learned how to do that, and then I ran a production for a skydiving manufacturer and was a VP at one of those companies as well. So really took that to heart, and I really loved every second of it, really. But then that kind of, you don't have as much time to skydive.
When you're busy repairing parachutes and making sure that somebody else doesn't go splat, yeah, I'm sure.
Yes. But people have said skydiving is the best thing you can do with your clothes on. Although I have seen people skydive naked.
Pass. No.
Don't try to erase that now out of your mind.
We're done. Windburn. Oh no. Okay. Yeah. No.
But it's the exhilaration, and it really the hardest part for people usually is to step outside of the door, because that's, you let go. That's the loss of control, and then you have literally a minute or 2 minutes before you get to the ground. So definitely a horrifying moment for many people, but again, that's where you evaluate the risks. And okay, I pack my parachute. I also pack my reserve parachute. You do. So like even with a car, if you don't take care of your car, and the more things that start falling apart, the less safe it is, right?
Sure,
so
absolutely.
Same thing kind of with the parachuting.
That makes total sense.
Reference.
Okay.
So
yeah. I'm hoping there's not a connection between this and our next topic, which is medical examiners.
Maybe, yes. No. So yes, I also worked at the medical examiners, aka the morgue, or the county morgue in Florida when I lived in there. During actually shortly after the skydiving, and kind of in conjunction with it. But one of the things that I had been curious about is becoming a doctor. And I was always, I'm still curious. That's one of the things that my themes of my story is being curious and wanting to learn more about just about anything. And I wanted to be a forensic pathologist, meaning put the pieces of a puzzle together of a crime or, you know, unexplained death or what happened. And there's certainly a personal story, I think, more so behind it, because my parents died when I was 18, both of them in an accident. So I think that I had a very much the yearning of knowing more of just the human body. And although that doesn't, you know, do anything for emotional issues, but
Sure.
it felt at the time that that is something that I want to look into and know more about it. So I worked there for 5 years, both as an autopsy technician and forensic investigator. So I would investigate with the doctors the deaths while I was going to pre-med at school. So which was great because, you know, anatomy and physiology class was suddenly easier, but
Sure.
it definitely, again, completely different experience, different world in and of itself. I felt for every person that had their loved one in there for whatever reasons. I often talk to them on the phone, also then going through maybe what had happened, but I also had to investigate. So you had to find a balance of, you know, how to approach things and bring things up and bring clarity. You can never, in a way, tell people how to grieve. It's very, very personal.
Sure.
So I'm not there to say, well, and this is not a place where I would say use SISU and grind through in a way, because it's up to you. I mean, I certainly used a lot of SISU just to push through, or I knew I was a survivor and I would be okay. Go through the process yourself. But if personal or whatever it is, or just be there, then that's what I was there for, really. So
wow,
that had
to be quite an experience, and a lot of SISU to get through some of that, I'm sure too.
Yes, and but it was definitely an eye-opening, and I was, you know, wholeheartedly going to continue that route and potentially become the, you know, medical examiner CSI person to solve those puzzles. And it was more for or not more, but it's to help people, but in a different way, and also the curiosity side of things and my love of putting puzzles together in a way.
And you've carried that through all of the things that you've accomplished.
Yes, and
That's
it
really
still
cool.
is. It's still putting puzzles together, right? So,
right.
Yeah,
it absolutely is. Well, that is awesome. You've got a couple minutes. So anything you want to add, or you want our audience to know about you before we head into the business end of things?
I just summarizing of and again, not just about me, but if you, or again, anybody, the audience, if you can think of yourself and say, okay, because oftentimes people want to paint things in negative ways, right? And it can take years and years. It took me years and years until I got to where I am right now to be able to reconcile some of those things that have happened. But if you can eventually, or find a way to look at those things and see what your strengths are at those times, there is probably a reoccurring theme or thread that follows you, and that is you, right? I mean, that's your thread, and hold on to that thread, because that is telling you something, and that's where your superpowers basically come from. So whatever you're going to be and become, whether at work or at life, or again, in my opinion, they both mesh. There isn't like work-life separation. It's all just in 100% togetherness of our waking hours. Hold on to that thread and keep at it, because that's going to tell you something. So like for me, is that puzzles or curiosity or pushing those limits or testing and learning something new. If I couldn't learn something, I would, you know, not do very well. I love the research part of it and looking at different things in different ways, patterns, whatever it is. But again, that's just me, but for you, it's something completely different. And I actually think that you have found your thread and you are following it. But, and we always find something new.
Sure, it evolves.
yeah, it's definitely not fixed in, right, continually, consistently.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Alie, thank you so much. I've enjoyed learning about you and sharing some of your insights and your experiences. And you have successfully completed the Lee After Dark Not Talking About Your Business 20-minute challenge. Yay!
Yay!
Invisible confetti rains down
Yes.
and all that good stuff. Yeah. So being that I'm a man of my word, I would like to give you 5 minutes to talk about your business, any offers you got going on, how people can get in touch with you. The floor is yours, my friend.
Thank you. And it's only going to take like a minute.
Okay.
So
that's fine too.
I'll keep it short. So the best way, first of all, so if you want to find more about me, is either go to julesx.com or find me at LinkedIn. Just look for my name and check out my writings or my visuals or whatever and see if it resonates. If it does, find somewhere there is a hit subscribe button to get my emails. I usually tell some more after dark stories in there.
Great.
that I don't share on elsewhere. Okay. Or I may go into some insights on what comes out of my mind and how it works, or why am I doing certain things that I'm doing. I always say that this is my other theme, is I say thinking is becoming a lost art. So I like to explain my thinking or why these things are going the way they are. And I also like to poke at things that are relevant and current and maybe hot topics. So nice. Check it out and see what you think.
Definitely. I having dived into some of your writing, it's absolutely fascinating. I definitely encourage you, go check her out, subscribe, listen to what she has to say. She's absolutely brilliant. So we'll have your links in the show notes as well, so that people can easily get in touch with you. Any parting thoughts?
No, other than if you do want to give me feedback on my silly drawings, please do. I mean, anybody, not you, but like anybody. Because
yeah, not you. Anybody but you.
You can do it too. You can do it too. But I mean, the feedback that I'm getting is positive, but I feel a little awkward because those are so I'm illustrating all of my writings, and
nice. Somebody
actually said that I'm feeding their head holes, which I thought was interesting. Like all of their head holes. So nice. Visuals, reading everything. So, and that is, yes, I guess I am, but okay. But I'm not professional at any stretch of imagination of the drawing, but it is a creative process, again, that I love to do. So if you love them, give me thumbs up. If you don't say anything.
Yeah, just go away. Wonderful. Well, I'm fascinated, and thank you so much for coming on the show today. You've been an absolute delight, and I can't thank you enough for sharing your experiences with us.
Oh, thank you. Oh, I have one final thought, by the way. So, and this is about you. So, anybody's thinking about copywriting, this here is the man. Call you.
It's just thank you. Yeah, there's definitely no one else quite like.
No, you are amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's high praise coming from you. I thank you very much.
Yes, you're welcome.
Well, folks, we are out of time, but if you found Lee After Dark more entertaining and relevant than most of the dreck out there, subscribe to the Lee After Dark YouTube channel, and now get Lee After Dark in your pants. We're on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchor FM, Stitcher, Breaker, Pocket Cast, and who the heck knows where else, so you can enjoy us wherever you stick your phone. Until next time, this is Lee Rowley with my good friend, Alie Jules. Be present and be well.